Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's been a long time since I dropped any kind of content, but 2020 has been just an absolute clusterfuck of a year. But after last night's debate, I had to say something because that shit was atrocious. Between Trump, just being he's not qualified to dig a ditch, let alone be president of the United States of America. And yet here we are. Chris Wallace had no control over that debate. It was buffoonery at its worst, basically. So, and this is something I've been thinking now since Biden has become the candidate. If Biden wins, I feel we could be on the verge of a civil war in America. Trump supporters versus everyone else. Because Trump has said multiple times and on many different platforms that if he loses, it's a fluke, it's a hoax, and he's basically not going to go quietly into that good night. And I have no doubt in my mind, especially after he was talking about, sending out, those messages to the Proud Boys, and then, they took that and ran with it. I feel like if he loses, outside of a complete blowout, like he loses by, an obscene amount of votes, I think that he will post up at the White House and his supporters would go to D.C. to protect him and then try to stop a normal, peaceful transfer of power on January 21st of 2021. I truly believe they would do that. And then it would be up to, honestly, I think at that point, because I don't think the federal police, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, the ATF, the Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, I don't think they have the manpower to deal with, what could be tens of thousands of Trump supporters all armed to the teeth at the White House trying to protect that man. Now, some people might think I'm being, hyperbolic or whatever, but this is what I truly feel. And I think at that point it would be up to the military, unfortunately, and I think either is a lose-lose situation. Either way. Either Trump refuses to leave office after he loses the election, and we end up with a situation where the military has to walk in to Washington, D.C. and remove him. Now, I think if that were to happen, all his supporters will lay down their guns because they don't want that smoke. They don't want no smoke with the real soldiers. You know what I mean? But I think if our country got to that point, even if the supremacists and the racists and the bigots and the supporters laid down their arms, I think if we ever got to that point as a country, we're pretty much done. The other side of the coin is that Trump wins the election, and then the shit is just going anyway. Then we're just done anyway. If you think things are messed up now after the last, almost 4 years, wait till you see what happens when he gets 4 more years. And then at the end of that term, if he's still alive, he tries to find some way to transfer power to someone that he wants, like one of his kids or something like that. Whether it's Donald Jr. or Ivanka or even Jared Kushner. You know what I mean? They just try to, consolidate power. And, he has tweeted stuff about that over the years. And then there's people, that there's memes out there that'll have, Trump, Trump 2016, Trump 2020, and then it'll be like one of the kids 2024, 2028, you know what I mean? So if he just wins outright, I think that could be the end of democracy in the United States and the beginning of something that none of us, at least none of the, natural born United States citizens are used to. And that's that, autocratic, dictatorship form of government. Because, a lot of immigrants in America came from countries like that. They know what that's like. You know what I mean? They experienced that. That's why they came to America in the first place. Americans outside of maybe knowing someone like that, or history books, or, just maybe you're a history teacher, or you just have the knowledge. We haven't witnessed anything like that. But if Trump wins outright, and it's funny, this guy in front of me has a Trump sticker on his truck. If he wins outright, then I feel like we'll be sliding into that. It's already been happening right in front of our eyes. I just think that if he gets another 4 years and he just outright wins the election, then that's like that's a wrap. You know what I mean? So I just feel like things have gotten so bad for a multitude of reasons. The pandemic being like very, very high on the list, but not the only thing on the list. It just makes things even worse that we're under this presidency during this pandemic. And in America alone, you have over 200,000 people who have died from this this virus or whatever, which a very, very large majority of that number could have been prevented. But I think we all know someone who either had it, they currently have it, or have passed away from it. I think all of us are. It's crazy that it has gotten to this point. But I'm just I say that to say that the pandemic is just is a large part of what's going on right now. But that's just a part of it. That's just one thing on this list of just how crazy and fucked up everything has been since he took office. So, like I said, imagine what'll happen if he gets another 4 years. That's it. That's a wrap. The empire's done. I already feel like the empire's fallen. But if he gets another 4 years, the empire's done. It's gone. That's a wrap. And, if Biden wins, like I said, outside of a complete landslide victory where Trump or none of his supporters could even try to claim that there was any kind of voter fraud or none of that shit, outside of a pure landslide victory, if it's even somewhat close, he's going to claim bullshit. He's not going to leave office in January. He's going to have thousands and thousands of supporters. He already has millions of supporters. Trump has enjoyed basically a 35 to 40% support, amongst United States citizens. Like, his solid base that will follow him into the fire is about 35 to 40% of the country, maybe even a little bit higher. So imagine all those people riled up, pissed off. He got cheated. We got to go protect our man. And they go to DC. What's going to happen at that point? Like I said, at that point, the only manpower that we as a country have to combat something like that is the motherfucking military. The military, the United States Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, the United States military would have to show up in Washington, D.C. to get rid of a president. Now imagine what that does. Like I said, if Trump wins, the empire is dead. If Trump loses and decides to not leave, the empire pretty much is like, it's gotten so bad that it's a lose-lose. It really is a lose-lose situation. And, there's still a lot of people out there talking about not voting and shit. Listen, I ain't even got nothing to say if you decide, you know what, fuck it, I'm not voting. Because, you couldn't have not been paying attention the last 4 years. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what's going on. So if you choose not to vote, I don't know, man. It's just, that to me is the epitome of selfishness. To either not vote or vote, vote for someone who has no chance to win. And, what are you, when you walk up to the voting booth and you're, the people who are voting for a third party vote, or, writing in the name, which is even worse. What are you thinking about when you walk up to the voting booth? People say you gotta vote your convictions or whatever. We live in a two-party system. Now, there's a lot of other parties out there. None of them get any limelight. When it comes to presidential elections, we are in a two-party system. Either the Democrats going to win or the Republicans going to win. Until there is a massive change in the way this country is run and governed and all that, that's what it's going to be. So to decide to take your stand on November 3rd or, whatever day the election is this year, to decide to take your stand at that moment and say, we need to change this system, and you want to throw your vote away, because that's essentially what you're doing. And I know a lot of people, don't like, when I'm not throwing my vote away if I vote third party. Yes, you are. Because you're literally, you're not voting for the two people who have an actual chance to win the office. That, whole voting my conscience and my conviction, that's all well and good in a local election, in the state level elections, even a gubernatorial election, where there's a chance that the candidate that you're voting for, there's a chance they can, eke out a win. But if you're holding your vote against Joe Biden because you wanted Bernie Sanders, or you wanted Elizabeth Warren, or I'm fucking with the Green Party this year, if you're holding your vote back for that, and then the election turn, we already got to deal with election interference. We dealt with it in 2016. You know what I mean? You got to deal with the tons and tons of misinformation out there. It's an uphill climb already. And then you got people that just want to be like, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm not voting, or I'm just going to throw my vote away just to be, that's my conviction. Nah, save that shit for January 22nd when Biden is in office, and you want to build those grassroots organizations and those grassroots movements to actually become a political power. You don't become a political power on the outside on the day that everybody votes. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way, and it never will work that way. So, I mean, it's some dark days ahead, folks. I'm just saying, it's some dark days ahead. To all my people, learn how to arm yourselves, learn how to protect yourself, learn how to shoot. Get your shit together, get your concealed carry permits, you know what I mean? Arm yourselves as much as you can. And I'm not trying to be alarmist, that's not my nature. I'm not an extreme guy. People who know me will tell you that. I'm just being real with y'all. Make sure you got your shit together, because if it comes down to that, if it comes down to the United States having to fight itself to, get this guy out of office, we need to be ready. We need to be ready. You know what I mean? So, I didn't want I didn't want this to be a dark ass, video, but it is what it is. That's what times we're in right now. We're in some dark fucking times. And like I said, that debate last night just drove the point home. Like, this shit is wild. Like, this shit is wild. And I can only hope that come wintertime, January, February, I can only hope that this shit is starting to get, head in a better direction. Because right now, and to me, we're standing at the edge of the cliff with one foot hanging over the edge, looking down, and leaning more and more to falling off that bitch. So we gotta listen. Vote, please. Vote. Get people to go out and vote with you. If you decide to vote at the polls and you're not voting by mail, it is what it is, as long as you vote. Go with a crew, just in case these motherfuckers out here trying to intimidate people at the polls, and who knows if there's going to be any kind of police presence to discourage them from doing that. If you don't want to go by yourself because you're worried about that shit, get a bunch of people and y'all roll together. Because listen, I was planning on voting by mail. I still may vote by mail, but I may change my mind and go to the ballot box. It's right around the corner from my house. Please understand, and I need everyone who ends up watching this video, I want y'all to mark these words. If I go to vote and there's some motherfuckers out there trying to prevent people from exercising their constitutional right, please understand, either y'all gonna have to come get me from jail, or my family's gonna be, they're gonna be spreading my ashes, because I'm not letting it go down. And whoever is gonna be out there trying to prevent these people from voting, please be ready to actually stop me from doing what I got to do. I'm not just gonna let some dumbass, bum-ass people stand out there and stop people from exercising their right to vote. If I get up to Marshall Street School and people out there are harassing, jumping up in people's faces, hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. And please understand, I'm not bullshitting when I say that. So I may just go just to feel like to protect people's, right. I may have to just say fuck it and go to the ballot box instead of, voting by mail. And it is what it is. That's where we're at right now. That's what it's like. There's going to have to be people that go against voting by mail and decide to go to the polling stations so they can protect other people's right to vote along with their own. I don't know, man. This shit is just the amount of stress and collective anxiety that a lot of us feel is and some days it's just completely overwhelming. And we have to take that collective stress and that collective anxiety that we feel and turn that into power, turn that into a presence. And